It's almost 100 days since the Hamas's deadly 7th of October attacks in Israel on Sunday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said Israel won't stop fighting until victory in Gaza. However, the day also saw protests by thousands in Tel Aviv and foreign capitals like Washington, D.C. and London seeking the release of hostages by Hamas and negotiations to end the hostilities.
Be it Tel Aviv, Washington, D.C. or London, thousands took to the streets on the day marking 100 days of the Israel-Hamas armed conflict, calling for ending all hostilities and peace. In Tel Aviv, the protest was held against the backdrop of a clock counting to 100 days since the 7th of October attacks by the Hamas. It was 100 days ago that Hamas militants rampaged through southern Israel, killing 1,200 people and taking 240 others hostages. Hostages remained in focus even on Sunday, though 105 of them were released by the Hamas during a temporary ceasefire in November. Military-style dog tags worn on neck chains remain the symbol of solidarity with the hostages on Israel's streets and TV screens. They are usually inscribed with two slogans in Hebrew: "Our hearts are held hostage in Gaza," and "Together we will win," and one in English: "Bring them home now."
Everyone wants to show their support one way or another, whether it's external or not. It's there. And it just makes you feel like you're, no matter where you go, no matter who you meet or talk to, that we're all a nation, undivided.
The 100 days of the war also saw Israel promising to press ahead with its ground operations. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that the International Court of Justice won't stop Israel fighting until victory in Gaza.
We today mark 100 days of war, 100 days since the terrible days on which our citizens were slaughtered and kidnapped. We are continuing to the war to its conclusion, to total victory, until we have achieved all our objectives. The elimination of Hamas, the return of all our hostages, and the guarantee that Gaza will never again pose a threat to Israel.
Netanyahu also indicated a massive enhancement of Israel's defense budget to become military self-reliant.
I instructed that in 8 weeks, a special committee that we will create with the involvement of people from the Defense Ministry and the Foreign Ministry and some others who will join in, will also give us their plan as to the huge additional for the coming years in order to create that independence in force build-up and in other things that are necessary to ensure our security in the coming years.
The 100 days of the war also saw French President Emmanuel Macron calling for further negotiations to secure the release of all the hostages, some of whom are French.
Cela fait 100 jours aujourd'hui, 100 jours.
It's been 100 days today, 100 days. France does not abandon its children. This is why negotiations for their release must be resumed again and again.
Meanwhile, Israeli military forces claimed on Sunday to have killed at least 9 Palestinian militants. The fighting, it's said, took place in the southern Gaza city of Khan Yunis, as well as areas further north, where Israel says it has dismantled much of Hamas' military capabilities. Anil Thomas for DD India.
Well, let's now take you live to Tel Aviv. DD India's Trent Murray joins us from there. Good evening to you, Trent. Even when the conflict is approaching a completion of 100 days, we've seen more fighting despite protests favouring peace. But are there any indications that this bloodshed might end sooner rather than later?
Well, certainly what the IDF is saying is that it's continuing its operations on the ground in Gaza at the direction of the government, trying to achieve the war goals set by Benjamin Netanyahu. Those war goals, let's just remember, are to crush Hamas and to demilitarize the Gaza Strip. Now, we have seen reports of heavy combat on the ground between the IDF and Hamas militants. We've also heard from the Hamas-run health ministry that 125 Palestinians have been killed in the past 24 hours. So I think there is certainly no indication right now from the Israeli side that this military operation will stop anytime soon. In fact, what we heard overnight from Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, was that he has indicated indicated to Cairo that the Israelis will soon begin a military operation to take control of the Rafah border crossing. Now, you need to remember that is the crossing that connects Gaza with Egypt. The Israelis say for their security, they now want to take control of that crucial border.
All right, and we've already seen U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken touring the Middle East the fourth time recently since the conflict began. What other efforts are on to pursue the cause of peace and other humanitarian efforts?
Well, there's multiple diplomatic negotiations taking place right now. We know that in Egypt, Hamas has been speaking via mediators there with an Israeli security delegation, which travelled there earlier this week. Both sides still appear quite far apart on any sort of agreement, but certainly for those families of the hostages, they're hoping those negotiations may yield some positive results. We also saw Qatar announce a deal that it struck to allow prescription medication to be given to the hostages via the Red Cross. We need to remember many of them being held by Hamas are quite old and elderly and have medical conditions, and the families here have been very worried about the fact they're not getting their medicine. So seemingly a glimmer of hope that that medicine has been delivered in the past 48 hours. But aside from those two diplomatic negotiations, we're not seeing any sort of positive sign from Hamas or Tel Aviv that they're on the verge of any sort of humanitarian pause in the immediate term.
All right. Well, let's see what happens in the coming days. Trent Murray, thanks a lot for joining us for the moment. Now, India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, embarked on a two-day visit to Iran, commencing on the 14th of January, which is today. Discussions with Iran's foreign minister include bilateral, regional and international matters. The meeting on 15th of January focuses on the Red Sea's security situation, gaining significance amid the Israel-Hamas conflict and Houthi threats. India is closely monitoring the Red Sea events, intensifying maritime security operations. Dr. Jaishankar's recent phone call with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also underscored global apprehensions about the Red Sea situation. And back home, it's festive period in India. Pongal is being celebrated in South India. In the north, Lohri was celebrated on Saturday and Makar Sankranti will be celebrated on Monday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi conveyed his best wishes to all citizens for the ongoing festive period in the country. While taking part in Pongal celebrations at the residence of Minister of State for I&B L. Murugan in New Delhi, the PM highlighted the importance of millets and said it's benefiting small farmers and young entrepreneurs.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended Pongal celebrations in New Delhi. Pongal is a multi-day harvest festival celebrated in South India. It is observed in the month of Thai according to the Tamil solar calendar and usually falls on 14th or 15th of January. Prime Minister Narendra Modi conveyed his best wishes to the citizens and said that the festive fervour can be witnessed emanating from every home in Tamil Nadu. Prime Minister said it reflects the diversity of our nation, adding that this feeling of unity is the biggest force to build a Viksit Bharat by 2047.
पोंगल के अवसर पर तमिल महिलाएं अपने घर के बाहर कोलम बनाती है। सबसे पहले वो आटे का इस्तेमाल करके जमीन पर कई डॉट्स बनाती है और एक बार जब सारे डॉट्स बन जाते हैं तो हर एक का एक अलग महत्व होता है। ये तस्वीर ही मन लुभाने वाली होती है, लेकिन कॉलम का असली रूप तब और वैभवशाली हो जाता है जब ये सभी डॉट्स मिला दिए जाते हैं और बड़ी कलाकृति बनाकर इसमें रंग भरा जाता है। हमारा देश और उसकी विविधता भी कोलम के जैसी है।
On this occasion, Prime Minister underlined the crop and farmer connection of every festival in India. Highlighting the importance of millets, Prime Minister said that millet promotion is benefiting small farmers and young entrepreneurs in the country. He said there is a new awareness about millet and many youth have taken up startup ventures on the superfood.
हमारे बहुत सारे नौजवान मिलेट्स श्री अन्न को लेकर नए स्टार्टअप शुरू कर रहे हैं और ये स्टार्टअप्स आज बहुत पॉपुलर हो रहे हैं। श्री अन्न के उत्पादन से हमारे देश के 3 करोड़ से अधिक छोटे किसान जुड़े हुए हैं। हम श्री अन्न को प्रमोट करते हैं तो सीधे सीधे ये 3 करोड़ किसानों का भला होता है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi conveyed his best wishes to all citizens for the ongoing festive period in the country. Raghav Kumar Jha reporting for DD India.
Amid escalated security crisis in the South American country Ecuador, nearly 40 prison staff have been freed on Saturday evening. The hostages included guards and administrative staffers who were held by armed inmates. The release was praised by President Daniel Noboa, who plans to investigate those responsible for the hostage-taking. The security crisis in Ecuador has escalated with incidents like armed confrontations and kidnappings of police officers. The 54th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum is scheduled to take place from the 15th of January, that's tomorrow, at the local Swiss Alpine School in the center of Davos, Switzerland. Police personnel have been deployed to secure the small alpine resort town. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, French President Emmanuel Macron and key Middle East leaders are slated to attend the World Economic Forum. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will speak in person at the forum on Tuesday. Also, Ukraine pushed ahead with its peace formula to end nearly 2 years of war with Russia, with a meeting of national security advisors from around the world in Davos on the eve of a meeting of the World Economic Forum. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was represented by his Chief of Staff, Andriy Yermak, at Sunday's talks, which were also attended by US Special Representative for Ukraine's Economic Recovery, Penny Pritzker, as well as James O'Brien, US Assistant Secretary of State for European and Eurasian Affairs. Ukraine said it's a positive sign that more and more countries are coming forward to back the Ukrainian peace formula. India was represented by Deputy NSA Vikram Misri.
Another positive sign in the continuous growth in the number of the countries joining efforts on joint actions planned based on Ukrainian peaceful formula. And I'm very happy to say today 83 states and international organizations are represented here.
And still to come on DD India News are, North Korea once again showcases its missile might in the Korean Peninsula. Foreign governments and officials around the world react positively to the Taiwan election results. And we'll also get you all the latest in the forthcoming US presidential race.
This is Dashrath Mahal or Dashrath Palace, which is thought to have served the home of Lord Rama in his younger days and also served as a capital of King Dashrath.
राम राज्य पूर्णतः 22 जनवरी को वापस आ रहा है। हम लोगों में एकदम हर्ष उल्लास है। जय श्री राम। पूरी अयोध्या मालूम दुल्हन की तरह सज गई है।
राम राज्य के दर्शन करने सब राज आएगा। ये पृथ्वी का ना राजा राम जी है। अयोध्या में राम जी का भव्य मंदिर, दिव्य मंदिर बन रहा है, ये हमारे स्वाभिमान का प्रतीक है।
Iconic Ram Ki Pedi or the series of ghats on the bank of much revered river Saryu.
राम जी का राज्य था, राम जी का राज्य है, राम जी का राज्य रहेगा। राम राम।
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. North Korea has once again showcased its missile might in the Korean Peninsula. South Korean government on Sunday reported that the North has fired an unidentified ballistic missile towards the East Sea. Following the ballistic missile launch, Japanese Prime Minister's office dubbed it an emergency alert. Here's more.
North Korea once again fired an apparent intermediate-range missiles into the sea on Sunday as tensions run high after Pyongyang's recent launches of an intercontinental ballistic missile and its first military spy satellite. North Korea has stepped up pressure on South Korea in recent weeks, declaring Seoul the principal enemy. North has said that it will never reunite with the South and vowed to enhance its ability to deliver a nuclear strike on the US and American allies in the Pacific. Sunday's missiles launched from the area of Pyongyang around 2:55 p.m. flew about 1,000 kilometers off the country's east coast. The maximum altitude was at least 50 kilometers and the missiles appear to fall outside Japan's exclusive economic zone. South Korea's military says that Seoul has been running an analysis on the missile in coordination with the United States and Japan. Japan's defense ministry criticized the launch as a violation of United Nations resolutions. In November, North Korea said it successfully tested solid fuel engines designed for intermediate-range ballistic missiles. In December, it said it had tested its newest intercontinental ballistic missile to gauge the war readiness of its nuclear force against what it called mounting U.S. hostility as Washington and its allies began operating a real-time missile data sharing system. North Korean soldiers brought heavy weapons back to the demilitarized zone around the north-south border and restored a guard post that the two countries had demolished after Seoul suspended part of a 2018 military accord between the two Koreans in a protest over Pyongyang's launch of the spy satellite. North and South Korea remain technically at war because the 1950-1953 Korean War ended in an armistice rather than a peace treaty. Pyongyang's isolated government is forging close ties with Moscow. Moscow and Pyongyang have denied conducting any arms deals, but vowed last year to deepen military ties. The United States and its allies have condemned what they described as Russia's firing of North Korean missiles at Ukraine, with Washington calling it abhorrent and Seoul calling Ukraine's a test site for Pyongyang's nuclear-capable missiles. The U.S. State Department on Thursday imposed sanctions on 3 Russian entities and 1 individual involved in the transfer and testing of North Korea's ballistic missile for Russia's use against Ukraine. Syed Afsarul Hassan reporting for DD India.
Foreign governments and officials around the world published statements in response to the results of the Taiwan elections, won by Ruling Democratic Progressive Party (DPP) presidential candidate Lai Ching-te. A statement released by Japan's Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa on Saturday emphasized Japan's crucial partnership and deepening cooperation with Taiwan, with which it does not have official diplomatic ties. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken congratulated Lai on his victory and the people of Taiwan for demonstrating the strength of their robust democratic system and electoral process. He said in the statement that the U.S. looks forward to working with Lai and to further their long-standing unofficial relationship. And the United Kingdom published a congratulatory statement urging for peaceful resolution between Taiwan and China and calling the election a testament to Taiwan's vibrant democracy. There's a lot at stake in the Iowa caucuses, which take place on the 15th of January. That's tomorrow. Braving bad weather in Iowa, all three Republican candidates, former U.S. President Donald Trump, former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, rallied with their supporters ahead of Monday's caucuses, which mark the official start to the presidential nomination process for the Republicans. But amid all cold weather in Iowa, too, is giving a tough time to all the supporters of the Republican candidates and the candidates themselves. Take a look.
The spotlight is once again on Midwestern U.S. state of Iowa to kick off the race for the White House. Republican presidential candidates Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis rallied with their supporters in snowy Iowa on Saturday ahead of the statewide caucus to be held on Monday, that's January 15th. Illegal immigration, war in Ukraine, and military aid to Israel are some of the issues which dominated Republican candidate speeches in Iowa.
Russia said once they take Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. Those are NATO countries. That puts America at war. This is about preventing war. It's always been about preventing war. That's why we should give Ukraine the equipment and ammunition they need to win. Russia has hit rock bottom. We know that.
While Florida Governor Ron DeSantis criticized the current Republican leadership for what he perceived as caving to Democratic demands.
So we have a record of leadership that is second to none. And I'm sick of Republicans. You see what they're doing right now in Washington and with these senators doing some border agreement, which is basically caving on everything to the Democrats.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump cancelled 2 rallies in Iowa on Saturday due to bad weather, but flew into the state in the evening for a small gathering. Trump attacked Biden on a number of issues, including illegal migration, war in Ukraine, and his business policies.
It's a very, very sad thing happening to our country. Our country is being overtaken. We're being invaded. That's an invasion. We had the strongest border, now we have the weakest border, and it's an invasion of our country. And Biden is grossly incompetent. The only thing they know how to do is cheat on elections.
Trump remains the dominant candidate in Iowa. He holds a commanding lead over Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. But in a major boost, Nikki Haley has overtaken Ron DeSantis in the Iowa poll days before the first test against Trump in Iowa. However, battling the weather has also become a key factor in weekend campaigning. Blizzard conditions in Iowa could see temperatures plunge to a low of -20 degrees Fahrenheit. On Monday, cancel more events and test the resolve of even the hardiest Midwesterners to go out to poll. Fuzail Ahmed reporting for DD India.
5 migrants trying to cross the Channel to Britain died in French waters in the early hours of Sunday. French local authorities said the small boat overturned as it attempted to launch from a beach in Wimereux, south of Calais. One person is said to be in a critical condition and he was taken to a hospital in Boulogne, northern France. Authorities said dozens were pulled from the cold water, but the overnight rescue efforts were tough as the waters were too shallow for the French Navy boats that came to help. Now let's get you some more updates from around the world. Surfers in northern Spain said they were worried about the possible pollution caused by the plastic pellet spill that has been threatening the Galician shore for a month. Millions of nurdles washed up in Spain after at least one container fell from Toconao, a Liberia-registered vessel chartered by shipping giant Maersk off the coast of neighboring Portugal last month. Lavish celebrations at the wedding of Brunei's prince reached a climax on Sunday with a glittering ceremony attended by government leaders from Asia and the Middle East. The couple made their first public appearance as a married pair in a procession through the normally sleepy capital Bandar Seri Begawan in front of thousands of onlookers. The British Academy of Film and Television Arts, or BAFTA, held its annual tea party in Beverly Hills to celebrate nominees for the industry's top awards. Among the stars walking the red carpet at the event were Cillian Murphy, Rosamund Pike and many others. The BAFTA nominations will be announced on the 18th of this month. Hundreds of Australians took to the streets to celebrate the Elvis Presley's classic film, Jailhouse Rock. The parade highlights the 5-day Parks Elvis Festival, celebrated every year in Australia to mark the birth anniversary of late singer Elvis Presley. The Parks Elvis Festival is held annually on the second week of January, with this year's edition ending on Sunday. And still to come on DD India News Hour. As the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict approaches 100 days, our expert guest joins us to discuss the way forward. Grand Army Symphony Band concert is held in the northern Indian city of Lucknow on the eve of Army Day. And over 22.6 million students register for Prime Minister Modi's Pariksha Pe Charcha 2024 to be held on the 29th of this month.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Before we go any further, another look at our top stories. Protests in Tel Aviv, Washington, D.C. and London mark the approach of 100 days of the Israel-Hamas conflict. Calls given for peace, but Netanyahu says even ICJ can't stop the fighting till Israel is victorious. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi takes part in Pongal celebrations at Union Minister L. Murugan's home. Says the festival depicts Ek Bharat Shreshtha Bharat sentiment. And India's Asian Games gold medalists Satwik-Chirag and Chirag Shetty settle for silver as they fall to Chinese pair Liang Wang in the Malaysian Open finals. Now, on the eve of the Army Day celebrations in northern Indian city of Lucknow, a Grand Army Symphony Band concert was held there. The concert was attended by over 7,500 people, including senior dignitaries, veterans, armed forces personnel and the civil society of Lucknow. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan, Chief of Army Staff General Manoj Pandey and GOC&C Central Command Lieutenant General Raja Subramani graced the event. The event was a musical extravaganza which showcased martial and patriotic tunes by the Army Symphony Band. Let's now get you some more nationwide updates. Over 22.6 million students have registered for the 7th edition of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Pariksha Pe Charcha 2024. That's to be held on the 29th of this month. It's a record-breaking registration so far. Pariksha Pe Charcha is part of the larger movement Exam Warriors, led by Prime Minister Modi to create a stress-free atmosphere for youngsters. Northern Army Commander Lieutenant General Upendra Dwivedi presented 663 Army Aviation Squadron with the most prestigious Northern Command Flight Safety Trophy for the year 2022-23. The exemplary performance of the squadron throughout the year, marked by a commendable record of accident-free flights in challenging conditions, reinforces the unwavering commitment to skill, safety and professionalism. And devotees offered prayers at Vaishno Devi Temple on the occasion of Makar Sankranti in Jammu and Kashmir. The natural old cave in the Trikuta Hills was opened for devotees. Also, India's Home Minister Amit Shah on Sunday offered prayers at Lord Jagannath Temple in Ahmedabad in Gujarat and flew kites along with supporters as part of Uttarayan celebrations. The Home Minister wished everyone on the auspicious festival of Makar Sankranti. Let's now take you back to one of our top stories where we've been looking at the completion of 100 days of the Israel-Hamas conflict, with protests in Tel Aviv and global capitals like Washington, D.C. and London favouring return of hostages and peace, while Israel's Netanyahu says even the ICJ, that's the International Court of Justice, can't stop the fighting till the Hamas is eliminated. Joining us now to talk about it is Professor Harshvardhan Pant, Vice President, Observer Research Foundation. Good evening to you, Professor Pant. What do you make of the prospects right now of this conflict, which doesn't seem to be ending, giving any indications right now of ending, although there is mounting pressure really to come to some sort of a negotiation table and then move towards peace, return of hostages, humanitarian efforts as well, to ensure that less and less people die, and of course there's relief for those who've been left stranded as well.
Well, Gautam, 100 days after the crisis first erupted, after the war started, I don't think are any closer to its end as of now, because there are hardly any incentives. And in fact, we have seen an escalation happening beyond just the Israel-Hamas dynamic. We have seen how far it has escalated, the entire Red Sea dynamic, and the Lebanon front has been opened up, and then the entry of Iran through its proxies into this war has raised tensions. America has made its position very clear in some regards. So I think by and large what we are witnessing is that for Israel, they do want to ensure that Hamas is decapitated. Hamas is not in a position to launch the kind of attacks that we saw on October the 7th. But I think there is no guarantee as of now that they have achieved those objectives or are any closer to achieving those objectives. So I think the strategic dimension remains frozen, and which means that Israelis, as they grieve for their missing ones, I think there is a lot of frustration that while the war is raging on, they are no closer to either getting the hostages back or to any kind of a resolution to this seemingly open-ended war at this point.
Why has that not happened as yet? Because Israel some days back said that it's completely cleaned up northern Gaza. There's no Hamas there left now, and yet we've seen even, I guess, a little bit over 24 hours ago, rockets were fired from northern Gaza.
Well, I think it's very difficult if you look at the kind of structures that Hamas has created in Gaza over the course of the last decade, and the kind of entrenchment that we have seen in Gaza. I think it would be foolhardy for Israeli Defense Forces to believe that they have achieved the objective of decapitating Israel, Hamas, to a point where they cannot regroup. And I think that's the real danger here, that after suffering a humiliating attack, if it is now the question of Israeli forces' credibility, and I think they want to reassess and they want to recalibrate the deterrence posture vis-a-vis the neighborhood. And in this case, I think there is a sense that if they do not deliver strong commitments on the ground, then I think there is a danger that something like what happened on October the 7th can happen again. And that's where I think ultimately Israel's position is. Israel believes that its entire survival depends on ensuring or re-establishing the deterrence vis-a-vis its adversaries, and I don't think they have calculated or they have assessed that they have reached that point. So I don't think that is likely to happen anytime soon. And I think the most important player in this regard is going to be the US. The war is likely to continue so long as the US will allow Israel to continue this war, because in some ways US also believes that some of these actors need to be put in their place. But as the war escalates, I think there is a real danger that it can move beyond just the Israel-Hamas dynamic, and that may ensure that Americans have to come back and reassess once again, how they want to pursue their interests in the region, because a lot of their allies are now coaxing Washington to push Israel in a direction. It has not happened so far, but I think that's where the real pressure on Israel is likely to come from.
Is that primarily because of what the Houthis have been doing? They've been targeting all kinds of civilian ships that are crucial to all kinds of global trade, not just oil, but others as well. The entire supply chain could be substantially disrupted, and the Houthis are perhaps proving to be as resilient despite the American and British actions against them. They're practically mocking the Western powers that you've not been able to do anything despite all your military might, your superiority. We can still fire rockets at you, fly drones and target ships.
Absolutely. I think the Houthis are, in some ways showing that they have been able to muster enough resources to target, the shipping lanes, to target some of the most important powers in the region. And I think their ability to do that certainly has a state connect. And therefore, I think Iran is now is being pursued vigorously, because ultimately there is a consensus which seems to be emerging that it is Iran that is behind all of these proxies that have suddenly woken up and are wreaking this havoc. But because of what is happening between Israel and Gaza and what Israel is doing in Gaza, there is a lot of support that we are also seeing for what Houthis are doing. So I think it's a very difficult situation in that regard as to how do you assuage the concerns of the Arab street and at the same time take on these strategic challenges that are emerging to global commerce and the sea lanes of communication. So I think for America and for its partners, this is a very, very delicate time. But I think also for countries like India that rely on freedom of navigation and free sea lanes of communication, this is going to be a very difficult time for global commerce if something is not done very, very quickly.
Yes, already there's data emerging that the Suez Canal is losing a huge amount of business because of that. And one big reason why we've had our External Affairs Minister going to Tehran as well. What can we expect out of Dr. Jaishankar's visit to Iran?
I think certainly Dr. Jaishankar would be conveying the concerns that many in India have and many around the world have, that if the present trends continue in the Red Sea, then I think the entire global commerce will be affected, and some of the most vulnerable countries would be the ones that would be most affected. The major powers can take care of themselves for some time at least, but if the global commerce is affected, global trade is affected, then I think some of the most vulnerable countries, some of the most vulnerable populations get affected. And I think that's a message that in some ways India has that leverage vis-a-vis Iran, that it can convey and kind of act as an intermediary also between the West and Iran, which are, I think, trying to also recalibrate their positions, especially the West, which is now trying to signal to Iran that some of these proxies will have to be contained if the larger conflagration is to be avoided. So I think here India is in a really interesting position as a global leader, trying to position itself and trying to contain a conflict from escalating.
Mm-hmm. And do you see that happening? Because right now, again, as you yourself said, there are no indications. But what do you think could change the situation dramatically?
I think certainly if the costs for Houthis rise, and I think Americans and their allies are indicating that they are targeting positions for Houthis, that is a military target, and I think they've said that they want escalation dominance, and I think that is certainly going to be part of this landscape. But certainly some political engagement between Iran and the West becomes necessary. So in some ways we are also looking at an entirely implausible scenario where because of the pressure in the region, Iran and the West may start a process of at least engaging with each other so as to contain the conflict from escalating. And again, India has an important role, and some of the other countries have an important role because of the dynamic of global commerce. But I think the Israel-Hamas dynamic certainly relies most on American pressure and how much Americans feel that is connected to the wider conflagration. If they feel that they can't contain wider conflagration without pressurizing Israel, then I think there is a greater likelihood that Israel might be pressured to relatively speedily conclude this military posture of its in Gaza in particular.
Okay, well then the next few days could be quite critical, and let's see if India in some way can be involved in moving the needle towards peace as well in this context. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Professor Pant. And now let's get you some special stories from Ayodhya ahead of the grand opening of the Ram Temple on the 22nd of this month. Ahead of the upcoming consecration of the Ram Temple in Ayodhya on the 22nd of this month, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has initiated the Clean Temple campaign, aiming to make the holy city pristine. Prime Minister Modi called upon citizens to unite in making Ayodhya the cleanest city in India. He urged people nationwide to kick off a cleanliness campaign at smaller pilgrimage sites starting on Sunday and continuing till the 22nd of January. The PM also participated in the Swachhata Abhiyan initiative at the Kalaram temple in Nashik in Maharashtra on Friday. He cleaned the temple floor using a mop and a bucket. And the Indian Railways has modified the schedules of several trains heading to the city of Ayodhya in the North Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. Seeing to the growing demand from devotees eager to visit the temple town ahead of the consecration ceremony of Ram Lala idol at the Grand Ram Temple on the 22nd of Jan, India's Minister of State for Railways, Darshana Jardosh, shared a list of trains along with their schedules. Take a look at the complete list of trains heading to Ayodhya up on the screen right now. India's development drive of Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra concluded in the village of Angara of the Indian state of Chhattisgarh. The goal of the initiative is to raise awareness about government welfare programs and schemes throughout India by making sure that every citizen of the country knows about the government's policies. Various types of camps of different departments have been organized in the event for the welfare of the villagers. And the Sankalp Yatra is also being undertaken across the country with the aim to inform people about the government's welfare measures by ensuring that their benefits reach the targeted people in a time-bound manner. The Yatra reached Fatehpur district in the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. India Minister of State Sadhvi Niranjan Jyoti participated in the Yatra. Local residents gave her a rousing welcome and expressed enthusiasm for the next phase of the program. On this occasion, several beneficiaries shared their stories of progress and positive change under the segment Meri Kahani, Meri Zubani. And still to come on DD India News are: Denmark's King Frederick X ascends the throne after his mother, Queen Marguerite II, formally abdicates after 52 years as monarch. Indian doubles pair of Satwik and Chirag goes down to in the finals of the Malaysian Open. And in the Australian Open, defending champion Novak Djokovic survives the longest first-round match of his Grand Slam career.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. India's Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan visited Ras Al Khaimah in the UAE. In an exclusive conversation with DD India's D.V. Vinod, the Indian minister said that the popularity of ancient Indian medical system Ayurveda is rising across the globe. The minister spoke about the importance of Second International Ayush Conference, which he had inaugurated yesterday in Dubai. The minister also spoke about people-to-people ties between India and the UAE.
We have with us Honorable Minister of State of External Affairs, V. Muralidharan, with us. He is here in Ras Al Khaimah, UAE, for a two-day trip. Good afternoon, sir. Yesterday you have inaugurated the Second International Ayush Conference. So what are the schemes and policies which the Government of India is setting in place for promotion of this system of medicine here in this part of the GCC?
It was a very delightful experience to inaugurate the Second Ayush International Conference in Dubai. This is especially important in the context of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's government making all efforts to promote Ayurveda and Indian system of medicines. So not only in India but across the world, Ayurveda is getting prominence, Ayurveda is getting attention, and the world is giving importance to the India's age-old system of health treatment, various aspects of the healing methods of India's science of healing. So I'm sure that the Second Ayush Conference, the discussions that are taking place during the last 3 days, it will be definitely make a big contribution for the improvement of the of Ayurveda and the interest of the people in this region in Ayurveda. This I must also say that the government of UAE has also given approval for the practice of Ayush, and more than 500 practitioners are there in UAE. So this conference, which saw a very large participation of more than 1,300 people, will definitely pave the way for improving of the situation for Ayush to spread across the region.
A few weeks back you were in Fujairah, now today you are in Ras Al Khaimah. So with relation to that, can you please give a roundup of your two-day visit?
See, the government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji gives a lot of attention and focus on developing and improving upon the relationship of the country with the Indian members of the Indian diaspora. So in that context, wherever as a minister in charge of Indian community, wherever I travel, I make it a point that I visit the community. So in UAE, I have been in visits going to other Emirates also other than Dubai or Abu Dhabi. So today I had the opportunity to visit Ras Al Khaimah, especially meet the members of the Indian community, the community leaders, social workers, all such people, as well as I had a visit to 3 major firms, their factories, where I interacted with the workers there. I went to the Ashok Leyland factory, I went to the Dabar factory, and also I had the opportunity to visit the Helios, the perfume manufacturers. So all these are in a way contributing to the improvement of relationship between India and UAE, and also contributing to the economic well-being of the Indian citizens.
Thank you so much.
Howling winds, heavy snow and frigid air have hit most parts of the world. Northern India is experiencing a severe, prolonged cold wave that has thrown normal life out of gear. The United States is also grappling with the harsh weather conditions and flood situation. The severe winter weather is gripping parts of Japan. DD India's Aman Kumar Himanshu's report.
Winters this year have been wreaking havoc around the world with extreme cold and snowstorms. India's capital Delhi recorded its coldest morning this winter season, with the minimum temperature dropping to 3.5 degrees Celsius. A blanket of fog enveloped over North India, bringing down visibility and affecting movement on Sunday morning. India Meteorological Department stated that the parts of northern India will continue to witness dense to very dense fog conditions till Monday. North America is also facing the wrath of harsh weather. A blast of frigid air from the Arctic hit Western Canada, bringing temperature to a record low in many regions. Western Canadian province Alberta recorded the lowest temperature of -46 degrees Celsius.
All that cold in the west is principally from what is coming from, maybe began in Siberia, came over into the Northwest Territories, and is now flooding down to Canada and going down really even to Texas. Has cooled off many parts of western United States.
United States is also grappling with harsh weather conditions. Winter storm brought snow, ice and high winds to part of the US Midwest and Pacific Northwest. Meanwhile, heavy rains and coastal floods on Saturday affected various cities on the US East Coast, leaving vehicles partially submerged. In South America, 2 people dead as heavy rain slashed southeastern Brazil's Sao Paulo state since Monday. Rain and windstorms damaged trees, flooded streets, and caused power outages in many parts of the state. Severe winter weather is gripping parts of Japan that were struck by a devastating earthquake on New Year's Day. Authorities warned rain and snow may raise the risk of mudslides as the ground has been loosened by the quake and more recent tremors. The Japan Meteorological Agency has urged people to stay vigilant against tremors for about the next 30 days. Indonesia's Marapi volcano erupted on Sunday, spewing ash some 1.3 kilometers into the sky just a month after a previous eruption killed at least 20 people. Nearby homes, vegetation, vehicles and tents were seen coated in a thick layer of ash from the volcano. On the other hand, Australia is facing the wrath of bushfire. Hundreds of firefighters on Sunday battled an out-of-control bushfire near Western Australia's capital Perth, prompted authorities to urge residents to flee. A high-risk bushfire season is underway in Australia due to an El Nino weather event.
A volcano erupted in southwest Iceland on Sunday, posing an immediate threat to a nearby small fishing town, although it had been evacuated earlier and no people were in danger. Authorities built barriers of earth and rock in recent weeks to try to prevent lava from reaching Grindavik, some 40 kilometers southwest of the capital Reykjavik, but the latest eruption appeared to have penetrated the town's defenses. With the air quality in Delhi turning severe, India's Commission for Air Quality Management, that's the CAQM, has decided to invoke 8-point action plan under Phase 3 of the Graded Response Action Plan, or the GRAP. GRAP Stage 3 restrictions include closing down operations of stone crushers, closing down all mining and associated activities in NCR, and a strict ban on construction and demolition activities in the entire National Capital Region except certain categories of projects. Strict restrictions on plying of BS3 petrol and BS4 diesel four-wheelers will be imposed by NCR state governments and government of the National Capital Territory of Delhi, that's the GNCTD, and also in the districts of Gurugram, Faridabad, Ghaziabad and Gautam Buddha Nagar. State governments in NCR and GNTCD may take a decision on discontinuing physical classes in schools for children up to class 5 and conducting classes in an online mode. Denmark's King Frederick X ascended the throne on Sunday, succeeding his mother, Queen Margrethe II, who formally abdicated after 52 years as monarch. The succession was formalized the moment Margrethe signed the declaration of her abdication during a meeting of the Council of State at Parliament. The meeting was attended by government representatives, Margrethe, Frederick, his Australian-born wife, Mary, who's now Queen, and their oldest 18-year-old son, Christian, who's become the new heir to the throne. And now we're getting you all the latest in sports. India's shuttlers Satwik-Chirag, Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty went down in the finals of the Malaysian Open Super 1000 tournament on Sunday. The Indian duo lost after winning the first set to Chinese pair of Wang and Liang, 21-9, 18-21 and 21-17. The Asian Games gold medalists showcased a dominant performance throughout the first game, swiftly claiming the first set in a mere 16 minutes. However, the world #1 pair of from China made a swift comeback, including a return from being down 3-10 in the final set to clinch the title. Defending champion Novak Djokovic began his quest for the 11th Australian Open title by defeating Dino Prismi 6-2, 6-7, 6-3, 6-4 in the first round on Sunday. In what was the longest first-round tie Djokovic ever played at a Grand Slam, with the match ending at the stroke of the 4th hour, the Serb prevailed after conceding the second set and survived a late fight-back as well. In the end, Djokovic praised the 18-year-old, which was summed up in an epic gesture after the match finished. Fourth seed Jannik Sinner got off to a winning start as well in his bid to claim his first Grand Slam title at the Australian Open. The Italian defeated unseeded Dutchman Botic van de Zundschulp 6-4, 7-5, 6-3 in the opening round on Sunday. And that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X as well as Instagram. We'll be back with more news and updates as we break here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.